The Tech Disruptors podcast is brought to you by the Average Dad Tech Store. Get all of your latest and greatest tech at averagedadofficial.com. And Stellar Data Recovery, your number one experts in recovering lost data.
My left video just went viral.
I'ma strike back and take your whole empire. Spontaneous combustion. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire.
Hello and welcome to the Tech Disruptors podcast. My name is Darren, and we are joined by a mishmash of tech podcast champions here today, if you will. This is like the Royal Rumble. I was going to say it was a four-way, but that might have been inappropriate. But we got my usual co-host, whose name is
Jason.
And joining us from the Nomad Tech Project, blending both worlds together, we've got this lovely gentleman in, I think it's a purple hat. Have I got that right?
Yes, it is, yeah.
There we go. What does it say on the hat? Because I was trying to catch it before when you were like...
It says beer, mate.
Oh,
on the side it says, let's drink.
There we go. I like it. And of course, the other half of the Nomad Tech Project, this guy right here. Sam, I'll just introduce you for you, I guess, there. I was just looking at your cheesy balls in the corner there, actually.
Oh, yeah. This is breakfast of champions, man. Oots cheese balls.
Breakfast.
You got to have these. And it's funny is when I'm gaming or doing stuff, I don't even I just freebase them. I just dump them in my cake hole. Yeah, because I don't want cheese fingers. Nobody wants that. Right?
No.
Oh, and by the way, just before we get started, dude, Joe, did you see all that stuff going on? It's hosted by and an intro and timer. Yeah. Dude, that's way more professional than us. We're just
we need to work on that.
No, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Anyway,
I just whipped it together. Nice. If I told you how I made that intro video, you would probably laugh out loud because it's so basic. I'm so shit when it comes to video editing. That was just a mishmash of things I just whipped together.
Dude, it was great. I was like, man, this is compared to us, this is we're like A-ball and this is like the major leagues, man. This is kind of slick. I
forgot how good my IEMs are because I only hear voices normally. But actually hearing some bass and that was really nice.
Music. That's we have a couple of sponsors. We have the Average Dad Tech Store and Stellar Data Recovery, who had just come on board last week. So they are one of our official channel sponsors.
And if you watched our last week's show, you could hear our very great acting skills.
Yes. We threw an ad lib ad in midway through the podcast last week. And
is it like shit type of thing? Or?
No, it was very much better than what we.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't know if it was better. We had a guest on too, and we didn't tell him we were going to do it, so we just kind of slipped it in.
Yeah. It was Adam Dowd.
It was.
He's a good dude. He's a
really good
Adam's
guy.
Great.
Yeah.
I like.
Well, I'm looking for my nod for the Oscars, so that was we put a lot of work into that. You know,
good
so I'm just going to tell you a funny story about that. So I sent Jason a script through Telegram, probably a couple of days before, and I'm like, "Hey, man, we're going to do this ad on the show on Sunday." So I start doing the ad, waiting for him to do his bit, and Jason never did his lines. I don't know if we had that conversation.
Did he know his lines?
No, it was like a written script. I just put it together, but there was a person A and person B, and I thought Jason would clue on, so I did the person A line.
So, Darren, I'm looking at the script right now. There's no person A, person B. It says narrator. It all says narrator.
Oh, does it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I didn't know where you wanted me to come in at, so I was like, who am I, the narrator or the narrator?
Listen,
probably the narrator.
I thought I thought I was going to rename that. Maybe I forgot to do that. It's probably my fault, but that happened.
It worked out all right.
It did work out okay.
Better though, Sam, right? Because we're talking about how professional they are, and then they just told us this, so that makes us feel better. Thanks.
No, it still came out professional sounding, even though they said it was basic. That makes me feel even actually worse. That it's something we could probly pull off, and we just suck. It does not help. That's all right.
Well, we'll try to slip another one in a little later on. Jason and I, we haven't actually got a script, so we'll go off the cuff on the next one and just see what happens.
Or maybe
there we go.
Narrator 1, narrator 2, or something.
I actually can't remember where I saved the script, so it's going to be. It literally is going to be me just ad-libbing.
You said that. I'm like, no, come on.
So guys, what's been going on in the world of you guys? Joe, we'll start with you, buddy. What's new? What's been happening?
Not a great deal, man. I've not been that active. Although I've committed to posting a post every day in May on my Instagram. So check out my post on there. Screen on time IG. Yep. Exciting times. Although I am going to Moto Forge on Wednesday with the bunch of phonies. So me, Dan Grounded Tech, Manos, you might know him as Orange Scooter.
Yep.
And Big Mac. We're going down to Moto Forge to get our hands on with the new Moto. So yeah, that'd be cool.
Which, dude, like honestly, for Motorola came out this year, and I think they're kind of trying to capture a little bit of that market. I know we talked a little bit about this on the last week's show. So Adam was telling us that they claim they have 70% of the flipping phone market. That was their claim.
70 US or everywhere? Or...
I think globally, probably.
Globally.
Jason, he doesn't realize, but there we go.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah.
I believe it was worldwide.
I think it was worldwide. So, which is interesting. I mean, I know, we always knew there's only really two flipping phone companies, and that's Motorola and Samsung. But yeah, he was just saying that like they're swinging from the rafters with this one. They want to launch a Razer flipping phone that is, for the lack of a better term, an ultra device, and I think that's what they're aiming for with the 60 Ultra there. But you also have, which I think it's a smart play here for Motorola. They also have their mid and budget range flipping devices. So you've still got those options in the price categories, right? Thanks, Mike. Just looking at Mike's post there. Yes, it's an epic name here.
All right.
Now, Sam, I know you used a Razer for a little bit, didn't you? And I think you still do.
Uh-oh.
I got this right. Right, there we go.
Now, the SIM tray, the cap broke off from all the switching back and forth. So the actual chassis is inside, and I try to get out. There's no way. But it does take eSIM, but switching that apparently is a kind of a hassle.
Yeah.
And then I still got that. And then, of course, I've still got my Moto G Stylus 20.
Yes.
So I'm a huge Moto fan. I'm unapologetically.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that article you wrote. That
I know. And
yeah.
What's funny though is, but if you actually read the article, it is not as positive as the header says. It says like, "Oh, this is the great." You start digging into the actual content. It's not.
That's why he was like, "Nope, that's not me."
Yeah, it's not me. But I mean, it's. I didn't think it was negative in any way. They do make some. I mean, he does talk about whoever this article is written by, this gentleman. It's not as that header makes it sound like this thing is going to just hit it out of the park, right? And as you get through the article, you clearly see that there are some criticisms, and they're justifiable. I mean, like say with the stylus, I think the stylus is pretty precise. He says his finger is just as precise. Don't want to call bullshit on that, but okay, that's fine.
But what I like about this article is that it shows that $400. I mean, it's a lot of money still, but in terms of phones, that's considered a budget phone. Mm-hmm. And what I like is Motorola, Nothing, CMF. They're all like top of the charts in terms of tech news, and they're all budget-minded phones.
Yeah.
So that segment obviously sells pretty damn well.
I would agree, but I just think it's right now. There's nothing on the other fronts to take away from this. They got to fill it with something, so why not? I would like to see. The real barometer of whether or not this is getting traction is, will it still get the same press coverage at the same time as more Samsung, more Apple, more Google focused kind of things that I would highly doubt it. I'm not saying that no, but I don't think Motorola would pull in CMF. Well, especially in the United States, because nobody knows what Nothing in CMF is. They have absolutely zero clue. And that's fine. But I do like the fact that those are not being glanced over anymore. I think the media is really starting to pick that up, and I think it's well deserved. I think Moto is trying to push through this, like Darren said. It's good to see, instead of recoiling and kind of going the HTC LG way. They seem to be all in at Lenovo Motorola, so that's good to see.
Now the Moto G Stylus has always been an interesting proposition because so let's just comparatively look at this and the other stylus phone, which is the S25 Ultra. So I know this year people made a big fuss about the functionality being removed from the S25 Ultra stylus, but I'm going to be honest with you. I honestly feel like it's about to be killed off. I think next year you're just not going to have it. But with Motorola, when you're selling a phone that is what, a third of the price of the S25 Ultra, I feel like having a stylus in there is a unique feature that actually might bode well for a company like Motorola. Like they're coming out and saying, you know what? This other company's not really making use of the stylus anymore, but some people still want it. You can have it here for a fraction of the price. And I mean, looking at the the AMOLED screen and all the stuff that they mentioned in this article, it's a decent phone for the price. And you're getting all of the... Say that again. Sorry.
For business use, you normally have a more budget device as well.
Well, devil's advocate, Samsung took that functionality out of the stylus, but I hate to say this, I've had a couple of the Ultras, and I probably used that feature when I first got it to see how cool it was, and then never used it again.
You're the reason they got rid of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's me and the average people that probably, I mean, it's like folding phones. Some people see a use for it, like not flip, but folding. Some people think it's dumb. I mean, it's people like slab phones that do, and like the Motorola stylus does. I don't know. I think Samsung, again, this is the devil's advocate part. They took that stuff out knowing, hey, people probably aren't using it. It's going to save them a few bucks, and they're going to charge more for the phone. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
No,
I know you trust companies, but
no, and I get that. But I mean, really, would you save $30 in cost? And it's really, you've got a lot of blowback on it. And then again, if they're leveraging just getting rid of the stylus altogether, because I do like the fact that Moto makes the G stylus, but there is no proper non-stylus Ultra, right? So
that's it. Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. So if Samsung wants to get rid of the stylus altogether, that's fine, and Moto would be probably very happy to get rid of it, because I think there are people, and I do use the stylus. I do use it.
There is rumors. Rumors that they might put it in their Ultra as well.
Yeah, that's what I heard from Motorola. They were going to put it in one of their Ultra phones. So they were going to basically, instead of just having the Moto G stylus, you have your budget segment stylus, and then you have your Ultra stylus. Your Ultra.
That would be interesting.
I'll tell you, if they made a G stylus, but if they made a Moto 60 or a Razr Ultra or an Ultra phone with a stylus, dude, that would be pretty compelling. I think
they usually do. The Edge range. They normally do an Ultra of that, but it comes out a bit later. Right.
Yeah,
and that hasn't been announced yet. That's the one that's rumored to.
Well, let me ask a question. So everyone in here has had a phone with a stylus at some point, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, Sam, you've already said you find it useful from time to time, or all the time, whatever.
I use it probably more than most people.
Right.
That's my question. I wouldn't call it daily, but I would call it weekly and a couple times a week, probably.
Well, that's my question to Darren and Joe. I mean, I use my stylus on my tablet a lot more than I do on my phone. But I'm doing different kind of work. I think it's the canvas I'm working with. But Joe and Darren, I'll ask the question: do you guys find a use for a stylus in a phone, or you think Samsung should get rid of it, or you think it's something that people actually want to keep in their device?
Joe, I'll let you go first, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, I love the stylus myself. If you can put it in there, put it in there. Give us all the stuff, mate. Give us all the stuff, whether I use it loads or not. I personally do use it a fair bit, probably not as much as Sam, but it does have its use cases. Like I like editing images on device.
Yeah.
And I like doing silly pictures. So doing my silly pictures.
Yeah.
It's great for that.
My drawings. Yeah, I'm telling you, but it's so nice. I'm telling you, know how many times I'm out and about with my wife or something like that, and I've got this with me, and she'll say something, or I'll see something real quick, and I just want to write it down. I'll kind of just write a little quick note.
Yeah,
like the other day, I was looking at getting a gun because and I didn't want to take a picture because it was in a glass case and it was really reflection. So I just took my phone out and I just wrote the model on it, the manufacturer, so I could research it later when I got home. Just make sure. So it's just real quick.
I thought you were going to say you drew the gun, which would have been even way more impressive.
We would have seen the pew.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I gotta get a pew pew. No, that was but it came or if somebody real quick mentions something and I'm out and about and I don't want to take the time to take a picture or type a message real quick, I'll just write out a quick sketch, a real quick note. Hey, call this dude, or hey, this is the street name, or something I catch. I mean, it's just real quick. Just pop it out, put it out, write it in real quick, put it back.
So guys, I need to tell you the actual story, right? He's out with his missus. He didn't draw a gun; he drew a penis because that's what kids do, right?
Of course, yeah.
And he showed, look, this is the gun I want.
And she's like, shut up. But so, like I said, it's like with everything else, same thing with the Duo and all those kind of things. It's like, it's different form factors and all that kind of stuff. And really, you have to kind of change your mindset of how you use the device And you don't have to, but the fact that it should be there, and then sometimes you have to change your workflow. You have to use the device in a different way, you know. And I can agree with Jason though. It's if you're trying to do something like sketching or whatever on a smaller canvas, it's really, really problematic as opposed to like a tablet, like a OnePlus Tab or a OnePlus Pad or whatever. Yeah, totally makes sense. But for just real quick stuff like that, yeah, it's kind of handy. And I tell you, when they had the functionality for the shutter, I'll tell you right now, my daughter, I gave her boyfriend the S22 Ultra I had just because he had an older Samsung was falling apart. They use that. Once my daughter saw that you could do that, she uses that all the time to take pictures. They constantly are using that stylus now as basically essentially a shutter. They can sit there and click and take the picture. Right? They do it all the time.
Well, especially when you don't have someone else take the picture for you. But with Google now, you can just what's that function they have now where you take a picture and you can add somebody later?
Yeah, it works pretty good. Add me. It's really good. It's really good.
I know for me, I'm probably the worst S25 Ultra there is because I haven't taken that thing out of the phone since I got it. I'm going to be honest with you.
Have you ever seen it with a case on? I can't get the damn thing out ever.
Yeah, it depends on the case.
Like,
mine's open at the bottom.
I'm like, I have no fingernails. So
some of them, they kind of have a little opening or it's kind of a little bit so you can kind of, but some of those cases, it's just completely flat across the bottom. And you can't, mine's
wide open. Like I could easily access it, but maybe I'm just not the use case for a stylus. I mean, I'm not writing notes necessarily all that much. I'm not, editing a Excel spreadsheet. I'm not doing those things on the device.
Right.
I will say this much though, like I have become very accustomed to like the bigger screen on the S25 Ultra, and I'm a little bit worried that I don't think anything's going to match up to that screen because I think if you've seen the screen on S25 Ultra, it's one of the best panels they have.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah, it's just incredible. Like to watch content on it, it's phenomenal. But it's and
it's Samsung, so obviously their display division is, they sell the panels to incredible. Apple.
Yeah,
like, they clearly have it figured out on the display tech, and Samsung devices, even on their Ultras, even on their S25, is the only other company that has probably a comparable panel would be Sony. Clearly, right? Because of Bobby and stuff. But I mean, I'm just like I said, it's just nice to see that Moto's adding an Ultra to the segment on the Razr. And that's a little pricey, 100%. But with Moto, what's going to happen. I mean, I didn't get this at $399 when I waited a little while. I picked this up for $249, and dude, for $249, there's nothing. You got SD card support, you have a headphone jack, you got a stylus. The Gen 1 struggles a bit. Yeah, if you can see sometimes it chugs a bit, it kind of gets a little choppy. And
what is it? What kind of processor is in it? Gen what?
This one's the 6th Gen 1. The new one's got the 6th Gen 3. So I haven't put it through its paces, but I would say if you wait about 6 months or so and you look around and you might be able to snag the 2025 style, so you can get it for like $289 or $259 or something. I'm telling you, man, unless you're all into AI or all the call features with all the pixels and stuff in Samsung, if you just need a phone that doesn't have all that features, there is no way in the neighborhood you cannot rock that phone as a daily driver. And
Moto's bringing the AI though.
Right, they have have the AI. So like I said, it's circle to search, and the only thing that really keeps me on the pixels is all the call features and all the extra stuff. The add me, now playing. It's really hard to get away from that. That's the only thing when I go to my Moto that I start because it's Android 14.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the circle search. I mean, you can use Lens. There's ways to get around it. Yeah, it's just really that's the only thing. But as far as the phone itself, dude, for $249, I'm sorry. And the vegan leather back and stuff, you just can't beat it. I'm okay with one or two updates. That phone. Yeah, 1 or 2 updates. Yeah. You know what? You pay $250 for it. And an device that
Well, and that's what's interesting about budget phones. It's like, what's the recipe? Like Moto does the stylus and something, and then they have CMF who does interchangeable lenses and maybe a better processor, but they don't have the headphone jack. They don't have a pen.
Yeah.
They have expandable storage, and then the nothing phones. It's interesting to see where they cut to make that. One common theme I've seen is none of them have wireless charging, which isn't a deal breaker for most people.
What
was that?
The new CMF does.
It has wireless charging?
Oh no, not wireless charging. It's added NFC. Sorry.
Yeah, they added NFC.
To me, I'm okay with losing wireless charging, but NFC is an absolute requirement.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, a phone didn't have
and that's what CMF from the CMF one that was $199.
That CMF Pro 2 looks really cool. I saw the little addition. I was like, wow, for $279, that's pretty amazing. I'm digging that. I don't know if it'll work really great on AT&T because that's probably my only hang up and stuff like that. But I like the interchangeable backs. I think it looks really cool. I'd like to try.
Is wireless charging a deal breaker for you guys?
No.
At that price point, no.
No, at that price point, no.
I mean, I'm paying $1,000 plus, it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, you should have it. Like I said, give us everything.
But I get, Jason. Is there even a phone at that price point that doesn't have wireless charging in it?
No, I mean, OnePlus was synonymous with that. At one point, they were making like $800 phones that didn't have it for a while, and I think most phones now do. But yeah, you're $500, $400 or less. I'm not gonna fuss over that, especially when most of them have like 35. 40-watt charging, which is not a slouch compared to even like some of the Samsung and Apple phones now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even the G Stylus, like I said, my G in 2024 has got wireless charging. At 240.
Yeah, and that's it's like there's trade-offs for everything. Yeah.
Again, like I said, the only thing with the only thing is the processor is a little underwhelming. Cameras are not super great because it's Moto, and then the other thing is the update schedule and their OS. Other than that, it has everything else you need. The screen is really nice. You've got a stylus. You got a headphone jack. You got expandable storage. You can throw, dude. For $250, it's stupid. I'm sorry. It's just you can't argue with anything else. But as far as that price point, you're getting a really
and it's widely available here in the U.S. Obviously.
Yeah, and it works on every completely unlocked. Weird about bands or this or that.
Well, I can tell you nothing in CMF definitely work on T-Mobile and Google Fi. I want to say it works on AT&T. It's just. I don't have AT&T anymore.
And that's why I like about the Moto phones is I don't have to even worry about the whitelist because it's just going to work. And I can have it on Verizon and I don't have to worry about any of that. I'm happy to see Moto in that space. And what's new for me real quick, Wilkin Lee, Moto's person follows the Nomad Tech project.
So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, cool. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
If he's watching, we got 4 guys here that would be more than happy to check out your razor.
Absolutely.
We'll give it a good.
I would be a motivator. I don't know if it's in the United States, but I would love to apply for. I would totally do that.
Yeah,
I'd like to be as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
now, Sam, you mentioned LG, and it's funny that you bring that up. So I was watching.
Finally died, right?
Yeah, so Mr. Who's the Boss had a video come out, I think a couple of days ago. He was reviewing like the strangest smartphones ever. But the one that really got first of all, Jason, he mentioned your what's that ridiculous thin phone that you have? Essential Phone 2. He covered the Essential Phone.
Oh, the Gem.
Yeah, the Gem. Yeah, so he covers that phone. He had a green backed version.
Yeah, that one's going. So mine is more of a, you can't tell in the picture, but it's like a bluish shimmer.
Yeah.
But each prototype, I saw you cover it, but the prototypes are different because this has a divot for a fingerprint sensor.
Yes.
There isn't one there.
Sure, it's not a doorbell.
Huh?
It looks like a doorbell, right? Yeah.
It's actually a phone this was supposed to be the Essential Phone 2 with a Project Gem. I had a video. I just made a video. It's going to be out on Monday about. I just unboxed a brand new Essential Phone 1.
Yeah, still a great phone, dude. That's such the hardware is awesome. I know.
Hey, I got Android 10. I got Android 10 on that thing. All right,
that's pretty good. Well, the reason I bring up Mr. Who's the Boss is because one of the phones that impressed him the most was the LG Wing. And the LG Wing, you may remember, was the last phone. There you go. Sam has it in hand. The LG Wing was the very last device that LG released before they died. Now, officially, as of June 30, software support for all LG devices that were still in existence is coming to a sad close, being the kind of final nail in the coffin of the brand that once was. Now, I had to look this up because they were offering software support for 3 years after they shut. Mm-hmm. So this is officially, 2025 is officially the year where software support is no longer going to be a thing for LG, which is usually end of life for the phone. Without the software support, you're not getting the security updates or anything like that anymore. And obviously then apps stop being compatible at some point. But so it just kind of an interesting, I didn't realize that they were still supporting their devices for so long. And I saw this article on 9to5 Google and I was like, oh, okay, really? So they've been doing this ever since. I don't know what those updates look like. I don't know if it's just been security
There
updates
is a ray of hope. So when I was looking into this, researching this Essential Phone to make that video, I found out that they stopped production in 2019. And the last phone, like everything was like sold off by 2020. And I think Nothing purchased a lot of the creativity people from that company. But either way, Lineage OS, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
They have ongoing support for that. And you could actually get Android 15 on that. Now, I don't know if all the pogo pins will work and all that because they have those pogo pins. But I'm sure LG, Wing, and they have a huge font. I can guarantee, because I used to look at XDA back in the day when I was modding phones, but now I don't do that anymore. But Lineage OS, XDA, you could probably find a heap of updates after this with all this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
they support a lot. Yeah. They keep working on that OS. I mean, it's pretty. They have LG, they have Motorola, they got OnePlus.
I thought about
Sony.
doing with the Essential phone, but I'm like, I want to keep it how it is. I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, because I think once you do it once, it's gone forever, right? Like it's a bit hard to go back.
I know we're getting off topic, but when I first plugged that phone in, you guys ever had the PH1 Essential phone?
Mm-hmm. I had it in hand. I never owned one though.
Do you remember when you?
I actually had it twice.
I had it like 3 times, and then they had that one where you could buy one get one half off or something. But you plug it in, and the charging icon was a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. It was like it was
835, 4 gigs of RAM. Yeah, but no, there is a current Lineage build. There is a Lineage build for a PH1. Yeah,
there is. Yeah,
they have a 90.
Okay, now I want to talk about aging tech for a second. Now that we're talking about the Essential phone. So you guys know the Louvre, one of the more famous museums in the world. So did you know, and I saw this made me laugh out loud. I'm going to ask you first. I'm just going to get you to guess. What gaming handheld console do they give to people who buy a ticket to go to this museum, this art gallery, this event, this place, to help you navigate your way around it? I'll give you one guess. One handheld
gaming device. Is it retro or new?
It's not that old. It's been around for probably, let's just say no more than a decade old. So under a decade.
Joe,
do you want to have a guess, or do you know?
I'd say a PSP, but I don't know. Maybe a PSP.
Okay,
that's a good guess.
I was going to say Vita, but.
Oh, you're going like, okay, you guys are probably a little off with the ages there. It's probably a little bit more newer than that.
I was going to say Steam Deck.
Oh.
Okay, Steam Deck? Okay.
It's a little big, but.
It's actually the Nintendo 3DS.
Ooh. Okay.
So they've been using Nintendo 3DS as an audio and visual guide for quite some time. Now, I've actually been there. I remember seeing people walking around with this, but I had no idea it was a Nintendo 3DS at the time. And anyway, so long story short, they're finally ending their use of the Nintendo 3DS.
Oh, that's too bad.
Which is kind of, I mean, they've been using this for quite some time. I think they started, it said in the article here, they started back in 2012. And you had to pay £6 to rent it. And it supported English, French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, German, Korean, Japanese, Chinese.
Well, you think about it, it's an interesting 2-screen device, which they probably utilized in a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper to hang on to a device as long as possible. And I never had a DS, but like most Nintendo products, I would assume it's pretty well built and durable, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it probably lasted a while.
Darren, it turns out, the software LG, that team, they were doing the software for that. So that's why.
Yeah, that's probably right. So it supports ending for that as well. Yeah, of course. Now, you know what's crazy about this? So I was actually reading this and I was like, okay, so they would have, they'd tell you about the history of the palace and whatever, the artworks inside it. But they also allowed you to have access to high resolution images of select art so you could zoom in and see the smallest of details. Now, hang on a second. Isn't that why you're there? Like, why are you zooming in on the screen?
You're looking at it. It's right there on the screen. You're standing there.
Well, and most people can just grab their phone and zoom in on it if they really want to see something close.
Yeah.
Again, this was from 2012, right? You said?
Yeah, but I mean, even so, I mean, back in 2012, people still use their eyes. It's not. Yeah, I think the biggest application of this though is map, because the Louvre is huge.
Yeah.
So it allowed you to kind of find your way around this massive, I think it's like 782,000 square feet of space. But, again, end of an era, right? Nintendo 3DS from 2012 finally being retired 13 years later.
Well, I was going to say, now you can just throw on a VR headset and probably go through the Louvre without even going. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes,
not a Virtual Boy, but like a Quest 3 or something.
I'm intrigued what they're going for next, though. Like, what are they moving?
Yeah, what are they, a Steam Deck or like
big.
A Legion Go?
Yeah.
No, one of those Ambernick like retro gaming handhelds that aren't shipping to the US anymore.
They're going to use a Rabbit R1.
Microsoft Duo, the original.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would say a Duo. If you
the
turn
Duo
a Duo,
2, maybe, yeah.
No,
you can probably pick those up in bulk.
OG Duos, yeah, you can probably get them for nothing. Yeah, sure.
Again, you're picking up a device that's no longer supported, really, though. So you're in the same.
Yeah,
boat.
but if it's just running a map, yeah. But if it's just running a map and some fucking audio, like that's nothing.
Plus, it'd be a lot easier to do dev work on an Android device than it would be on a Nintendo's kernel or their OS or something like that.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. Maybe they won't do anything. Maybe just go to the place and just get a map and just like download,
have an app,
scan a QR code on your phone, and then you can walk around and then you can
old school.
Yeah,
yeah. Now, changing up our focus here for a second. So I know we've talked a lot on this show about the crazy dating apps that young people gravitate towards, but I want to just talk about a little bit of a dating app mayhem that happened this week. So there's an article that came out. So I'll ask you guys this question because I'll start with this. What would be the worst possible outcome of you using a dating app besides meeting someone crazy? Like, what would be, besides that, what would be the worst outcome of you using a dating app that has access to your data? I'll start with you, Joe. What would be the worst outcome?
Well, I'm married, mate, so it'd be my wife finding out.
Besides the wife, let's just say hypothetically.
If I'm in a world where I'm single.
Yeah.
Other than them being a psycho.
Yeah, other than meeting a psychopath, like dating person. What would be a scenario that would not be good for people using these apps?
I guess finding out then nothing like what they are in their pictures.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, all right, pretending to be something that you're not. Sam, what would be the worst outcome of using one of these dating apps that has nothing to do necessarily with the people on them?
Well, the fact that if they capture a lot of your personal information and where you work and stuff, somebody could log in as you and post a bunch of stuff and be, put a bunch of, they could just skim data. So like they can have access to socials, they can have access to addresses, they can have access to employers. And you know how employers are, if you do something that's untoward and you're on social media or a dating app and they can make it, or you're out there doing something like, harassing people or trying to show up like Ray Liotta at Goodfellas pistol whipping people in the middle of the night, you're probably going to lose your job. So identity theft or skimming your data for sure. That's a serious problem.
Well, Sam's definitely getting closer. Jason, any guesses?
I was just going to say the same. Maybe stealing your login information and accessing other accounts, bank information. For example, I got notification that my Microsoft account has been trying to be logged in 156 times in 1 hour.
How much data? How much
they didn't get in.
That take though?
They take a lot.
I mean, remember, though, when you're in a dating site, if you truly want to date somebody, I've never used a dating app myself, but I'm assuming you fill out honest information about yourself, and people can pose as you, like on social media, and say, "Oh, well, I am this guy because look at all this information I know about myself."
But also too that realize that just from a security standpoint, a lot of people they use the same password for everything.
Yep. Yes,
including work systems, right? So we have a very clear guide where we work that if you're using any passwords to access our system, we have a lot of also too. We have like multi-factor authentication and stuff like that. But they're very clear about never reuse a password that you use for any kind of social media or gaming or banking or anything. Your personal passwords have to be completely separate from anything you use there, and pins especially.
I'm not laughing at you, Sam. I'm laughing at
You're laughing at the title.
Dating app raw, accidentally raw dogs users. That come on, they use a different term. That's like
okay. Now let me just unpack this because once you hear this story, I think you're gonna have a good laugh here. So there's a dating app. It's named Raw, and they've accidentally leaked anybody who uses this dating apps, location data and personal info. So not only do people know where you live, they know all about you. Now, what's crazy about this company also has what's called, and please don't laugh out loud, Jason, the raw ring, which is, I'm not even joking, allows users to track your location to ensure you're not cheating. So
I'm still trying to get the fact that they raw dog uses location data.
So
sorry.
Basically, this company, which put their tagline is raw and real, and unfiltered love. I don't know what that means.
I'm sorry, that's a terrible name. Maybe I'm just immature, but I think that's a terrible name for a dating app.
It's a really bad name.
Yeah.
So to unpack this, they're all about making sure that if you're on this dating app, you're being genuine. You're not somebody that's fake. You're not somebody that's posing. You're not trying to be somebody that's just trying to.
You're not a bot, or
you're not a bot. You're anything like that.
Right.
But so basically, they had they got this wearable, which is quite literally a ring that you put on your finger, and it gives all your location data about where you are and what you're doing. Now, here's where it gets kind of scary. That information got leaked. And all of a sudden, the thousands of users on this app, people knew exactly where they were at any moment in time if you were wearing this piece of hardware.
Stalker alert.
Yeah. So if you did have someone that maybe was really interested in you, but you were kind of ghosting them, all of a sudden, you're out there. They know where to find you. And if you were in the same city, same town, even the same country, you can imagine the kind of chaos that something like this would create, right?
Have you guys seen the TV show You?
Yes. Yeah. On Netflix there. Yeah.
That's the next season. They're going to log into Raw.
This is where I guess maybe that sounds bad. I was more kind of disappointed that you would have the raw ring and you'd have to wear it on your finger. I thought you would wear it somewhere else. Just saying.
That was Gen 2.
I was going to say that would be more awesome, and it would be in line with their whole theme. Like, you put it on your finger. No. You've heard of this before, remember? Those kind of rings?
Yeah.
You might want to try that out. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think that was going to be Gen 2 version of the ring.
Darren's got one in for a review.
I do.
You can't call it the ring, then. It's that creepy movie like lady walks out the TV and kills you. So, you die in 7 days. I mean,
and it's funny because this is a problem, and this is honestly how intelligence services track people, because they can kind of see where you go, where you're going into, where do you frequent, where do you go, where do you leave, do you go to this church, do you go to this mall, do you go to this restaurant, and they use that to kind of create a profile on your habits and your proclivity and your needs and your wishes, and they build case profiles on people they're tracking based on where you're going, and the fact that you go to this specific grocery store, that you go to this specific hairdresser, you go to this specific, they know where you're going. So if they want to exploit that for some other reason, they have that.
Okay, so Netflix
that data.
Next season of You, if you haven't canceled already, you need to get the main character to download Raw and have the raw dog the user's location. Get that ring, the raw ring on.
I feel like, I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like this whole story is the beginning of a great movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's more like scary movie,
Black
like
Mirror
comedy
episode,
and horror
maybe?
mixed together.
Yeah.
So if they're giving a ring, they must be charging a lot for that service as well.
I was actually, it's funny that you say that. I'm going to look that up. I was just thinking about that.
Okay, did you check out what cost and pricing would be?
I bet it's expensive.
Their website's interesting. I will say that.
$59.99 a month.
While you're looking, I've got a little joke that's in my head.
Yeah.
I have to say, right.
No.
So, the name Raw, they need to edit that. Because you never post Raws, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
I don't even know.
You should try stand-up comedy.
I should, yeah.
You should.
You know what's kind
in
of
collaboration with Raw.
Yeah.
There you go. Sponsored by.
What's kind of weird about this website is, so you can there's a link to download, but there is literally not a lot of other information about
It's
this
just funny.
app.
Whatever screen you're on made your face turn red. Like
It's pink. Yeah, the whole website's pink. Yeah.
So wait, they take all your information, but they don't give you any information.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like the website's ridiculous. I'm not even going to pull it up. It just looks like you're scrolling through fucking Instagram. So I'm not even going to bother.
Nice. That's cool.
Now, Joe, can I talk? There's a story from the UK, which I want to just kind of get your take on this, because this was I thought this was kind of creepy, if I'm being honest. So you guys know AI deepfakes are a big thing right now. But the BBC has come out and resurrected a very famous author who died back in 1976 to essentially sell a writing class. So, Joe, you might know this particular person. So the BBC has used AI.
Agatha Christie?
Wow. Okay.
Resurrect Agatha Christie for its writing masterclass series. And essentially what they did here was they took all of her writing and information, all these things that she'd written about, lessons that she'd taught, collated all this information and data, vocal recordings, videos of her, and they used that to build this AI version of her on top of an actress. So they got an actress kind of playing the body, but the face and the voice and everything in between is Agatha Christie. Now, her family... They had permission from the family and the estate, so it's not as if they did this illegally. But is resurrecting someone from 1976 to sell a masterclass in writing, is that not a little tacky?
No, I mean, you could see a PBS doing this with Mr. Rogers or Bob Ross, have him come back and paint.
Yeah, I don't
class in painting. I mean, come on.
I don't know. There's I'll show you the video. There is a video here of her doing it here. Give me a second.
And just so you know, this isn't a British thing. Everybody who's into literature should absolutely know who Agatha Christie is.
Yeah,
I don't think, but yeah,
no. It's a BBC. It was BBC who did it. That's why I'm Joe there. But
I don't. Yeah, let's see what's.
I'll show you what to see. I'll see if I can pull up the full screen here. So this is her. This is just a little bit of her. It's more like a little ad here, but
I have been writing and publishing my novels and short stories for quite some time now. I have often been asked about my technique by interviewers.
My family approached this project.
So that was just a little clip of, Agatha Christie.
Actor, but it's all AI information.
Her voice, her information is all.
It looks pretty legit. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, it looks pretty.
It sounds
organic.
a little off to me, mate.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking that too. Yeah, it's off a little bit. Like it's a bit too enunciated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she spoke like that too, though, from what I remember seeing in interviews with her. I think she was quite well spoken. So,
I kind of thought that. I'm guessing that next person was part of her family, or
maybe her grandson or something.
I'll kind of pull up. This is the guy who created, I believe.
Viewers.
My family approached this project with great love and respect for my great-grandmother. At the heart of this was my father, who knew Agatha Christie better than any person alive. At times, he was astounded by how similar to his grandmother this version was. And my view is that if he can enjoy this project, we can all enjoy it, and it can be enjoyed by people all over the world.
My promise to you is that I will pass on the best advice I can from my own experiences.
When we went to see the BBC to tell them of this project, we were genuinely nervous. There's a lot of concern over AI, quite rightly.
There's the lady
we had to
playing
explain
her
to the BBC that this would be a job creator. It would be something that would be important and useful, and it would be something that expresses AI not to invent words for Agatha Christie, but to represent Agatha Christie in her own words.
So it's kind of like, it's an interesting concept, but is it like, I don't know. Like, I feel like
I think it's an homage. It's not like ripping her off.
Yeah.
It's not, they got permission. It looks like it's done right. It looks like it's done well. I mean, we just saw a snippet, but it wasn't like they just went to ChatGPT and said, hey, create this. They actually made this, and the family looks like they gave their blessing, and they got their information from, past interviews and family and, all kinds of stuff. I don't know. Doesn't bother me as much. But.
And remember, this is going to work better. Right, because remember, this would be hard to do if you're talking about George Washington, because there is no audio
and
video of George Washington, right? So you can't really do that. However, some of these people who are maybe have been alive, and there was the television era, like the Walter Cronkites, those kind of things. There is audio and video of them speaking, and there's enough source data where you can make this. The only thing I noticed in the AI modeling when you watch it, do you really? And I see this from an investigator's mindset, and so Jason probably can appreciate that. You can kind of see that there's some disconnects with when people speak like this, like when you and I are talking, when you're looking at, there's all these, the AI models don't do a good job of completely doing all the non-proximity, like the facial movements.
Yes. Micro expressions.
The micro expressions, right? How your eyebrow will go up, or when you're listening, you know what I mean? You can tell if you really are paying attention to it and really watching it, you can see that it's definitely generated. But I think it's kind of cool because I mean, I would rather learn how Agatha Christie writes from something like this than some lady or some professor teaching it in a university. It has a little bit more. I'd like to hear it from the voice of Agatha Christie. If they can somehow model that and get it close, I don't know. I mean, is it weird, dude? Guess what? In 30 years, things are gonna get a hell of a lot more weird. By the time I'm ready to check off this rock, I'll be 80 by that time. It's going to get real weird around here.
Well, compared to what we've seen so far, this is very historically based. It looks like they're trying to do the right research. To me, it seems more.
I mean, it's a little for people like Darren. I can understand why Darren's kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this, and I don't. I can completely agree with that. Although I'm kind of I want to see how far this goes. If it's done on the up and up, and the family's involved, and they have creative input, and I think it's kind of neat. It's kind of fascinating. I never really paid much attention to it. But here's the thing that, I mean, hell, we all have young children. They don't even know stuff that happened. Like I watched the Berlin Wall fall, right? Yeah. It's kind of cool that because of these AI things, we can keep people who are transformative figures in history. Keep them
and
around. They can kind of live forever and kind of, I've seen things where they have people who are passed away that they give it to a model, right? And they can ask it questions, and there might be great grandchildren. Like, I don't remember my grandfather. He passed away in 1977. I was only a year and a half old. So I never heard his voice. I don't remember it. But can you imagine if they were able to get enough modeling, enough home videos and everything, and then I could go and see him?
Think about that.
And you could actually type in models, and it would say, "Hey, Sam, how's it?" I can actually hear his voice and see his image, and kind of like it kind of keeps it fresh. Because here's the thing, and this is kind of a personal thing. My mom passed away in 2020, and I will tell you what I'm afraid of is how she sounded. Like I remember her voice and how it sounded, but I've talked to people who've had parents or loved ones who've passed away and they didn't have any real and they'll tell you the first thing you kind of forget about is how they sounded and the little things that they used to do. So I have a lot of my mom's audio because we took little clips of her because of videos and stuff like that. So I never really, even when I'm older, I never forget how she sounded in conversation.
So I don't know. You just said that because this is totally off topic, but I had a buddy of mine who we were close in high school, kind of drifted apart as we got older, but he had committed suicide and they had a celebration of life for him this past weekend. So I went back home and it was good. It was saw pictures, but just thinking I don't remember what is, I can hear him see him saying something to me as a memory, but I don't really know what his voice. That's crazy. Right. I never really thought about it.
And then those are those little things that I think about when I'm looking at these things, like for generations of young students who may be getting into murder mysteries and writing, and it's kind of cool. I mean, Agatha Christie novels are going to be around for 200, 300, 400 years. And so they see that it kind of helps. I don't know. It's just another tool that's available. And I think it's kind of cool that it's got the family's blessing. That's kind of sweet. I think it's kind of cool.
Well, we touched on Black Mirror.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
We touched on Black Mirror. There's on the new. Hopefully, I'm not going to ruin it for anyone.
New season? Yeah, I've seen it.
I'm only on season 1.
There's a guy who's a lady had a fling with passes away.
Yeah.
And it's a really good episode, and it's kind of linked to this in a sense.
Yeah.
I think they're a similar sort of concept in a way, but different.
I mean, I didn't, to be honest with you, I was just thinking it was a bit on the nose because you're bringing AI to bring someone back, but then I didn't think what Sam was saying, and I know someone mentioned in the chat.
Loved ones.
It's an interesting concept when it comes to your loved ones because you probably do have a lot
video.
material, video, audio, like letters, postcards, fucking, there's a million things.
Yeah, but can you imagine a company making like, hey, your mom passed away, your dad or brother or sister, and you have an AI person that you can like interact with that looks just like them, sounds just like them, kind of thinks like them based on information that you had gathered and given this company? I mean, that would be kind of strange, but interesting.
See, for me, I don't think I'd want that myself.
Okay.
It's still not them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I get it.
But maybe for your own kids, though, right? Like if it was like a grandparent who maybe passed away.
My daughter never met my dad,
so there you go, right? Yeah,
right. And so, and like I said, I think at some point in the future we'll have situations where if people who are, older, sharing stories, they'll basically put them in a. And I've even heard of this. They ask a bunch of questions and they kind of get all this modeling, and then that way they generate that. And if you know somebody who's close to you, or like if for me, I would want future generations of my daughter's family to know who all these people are. Can you imagine if I knew and I could hear somebody in my family from like who lived in Italy in like the 1700s or 1800s and not really interact, like have a conversation, but just see what they look like and was able to capture their voice. And it was this is my great grandfather Giuseppe who lived in what, it just would be kind of like for historical purposes, not so much. I think the other part is the social interaction aspect, which that's maybe a bridge too far for me, but just having that lineage instead of just having pieces of paper with lines of family trees, right? You actually have,
which means nothing.
You have something that, okay, well, he did this and it was in his own words, and in the AI model can capture all the things he did for a living. And like, I was on the railroad, I worked in a vineyard, and those, I think that could be pretty cool.
Now I got a question. Sorry, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in a sense, you can get a feel of some people by going on their social media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's there forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be another source data.
Yeah,
right?
but like, sometimes you're a different person on social media than you are. Not everybody, but a lot of people.
Oh, that's true. That is very, very true.
Fair point. Now, let me ask you a quick question here. So, if you could resurrect a dead person besides family, it has to be a celebrity, using AI, who would you bring back so you could have a conversation with?
I already know them. I already know my answer.
Okay, Sam, go, Sam. I'll let you go first, Sam.
Of any person I could ever talk to?
Any person you could ever talk to, but it has to be someone that was relatively like well-known. Someone famous-ish.
Isaac Newton.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
To me, I agree. And I watched, and the reason why I say it is because I watched a video with Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about who to you is the most, like, who would you want to meet and why?
Okay. When
you hear and see the things that in the history of humanity that Isaac Newton was able to accomplish in his life at the age he did, it'll blow your mind away. It will be like there to me, especially if you have any kind of like a scientific mind or just a knowledge base, or if you're like that dude, there is no question. He is by far one of the most advanced thought people in the history of humanity. So I would love to, I'd like to pick his brain, even though I have no idea what he's going to talk about, but I think it would be kind of interesting.
Joe, what about you, buddy?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, mate. I'm really not sure. That's a big question.
You want me to come? I'll come back to you. What about
come back to me. I'll have a think.
Well, I mean, I could go intellectual. Sam kind of went that way already. I would think, and I know this is not as old, but I just remember. So I'm a Linkin Park fan, and Chester had committed suicide.
Yeah,
and I know they're back, and the new singer is great. She's fantastic.
She's wicked. Yeah, really.
She's awesome. But if you ever go back and listen to Chester, he can scream and sing. And I think I don't know if necessarily want to meet him and talk to him just to see what music could have came had he not passed. Like what direction Linkin Park would have went. I mean, I'm not a huge diehard fan, but I do enjoy their music. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's not intellectual by any way. But again, the problem with something like that is if someone has committed suicide, it's a little different because, there might have been something else going on.
Kurt Cobain as well.
Kurt Cobain would be an interesting one.
Yeah, you could go on that list for that,
I'd want to talk to Marilyn Monroe.
I bet you would.
Well, I'm just curious. No, I'm curious to see. No, I'm not a big fan or anything. I just feel like, again, you could go down the intellectual path, you could go down the musician route, and Kurt Cobain would be my second answer if I'm being honest. But I think someone like Marilyn Monroe, who was this, larger than life public figure who, the world revered. I think she's got a bit of a story, and I think I'd want to be able to talk to someone, one of these like AI recreations that could tell me more about their career and what it was like, with what they were doing. Right? I mean, I'm not resurrecting the actual person, but I don't know. I think it'll be kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, no one said Steve Jobs.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, he was a very influential in the tech community. So I mean,
I think he has a lot of great ideas when it came to he has a really good discussion about like when Apple was getting off the ground, him hiring professional managers and how it just basically did not work. And he always talks about the best people in companies, but especially tech companies who are good leaders and managers are individual contributors who don't want to manage people. He goes, when I put those people in those roles, this company exploded because those people get the tech, they understand, they have a passion for it, and they don't want to be leaders. They don't want to be a manager. And as I know, I've listened to some of Steve Jobs' kind of discussions. I think when it comes to how to build a company and the people and building a brand and all the thought behind leadership and culture, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, I think he had a lot of really good, solid ideas. Clearly, obviously, the company is not exactly,
what even leads into like Tupac. I mean, he was an influential hip hop, star, but he also, even after his death, Harvard was teaching classes based on some of his lyrics, some of his songs. Yeah. So I mean, someone like that could even, you can look at as many avenues you could go with that.
Right. There's a way to.
But Darren, I don't know if where you're going to go next. I know we don't have much time, but I kind of want to touch on this. So here in the U.S., me and Sam, we deal with but we've heard a lot about the word tariff. Correct. Yes. We've heard that word a lot. And other countries have as well. But there was a company that came out on social media and they actually said, hey, we're going to go ahead and tell you what we're paying. I don't know if you guys can see it. Is it working? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Yep, we can see it.
The story is they had an order made of $167,000 of these floodlights. I think this is the Pro. And after the tariff, it landed in the U.S., they had to pay a tariff bill of $255,000. So they're in the negative. Now they're going to sell them. And it's kind of interesting. If you go back to like I think it was on X, they posted this. There's been a little bit of both. Like, oh, idiots, you should just make stuff in America then or whatever. Or
of course,
their thing is, hey, we've been trying to move to Vietnam or somewhere else where we can get lower it just takes a long time to move all of our stuff to another country. And now they're escalating it. Some people have said, oh my God, this is bullcrap. And I'm not trying to get political. But what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think? Do you think Wise was smart to say, hey, this is how the tariffs are affecting our company? Or do you think they should have just kind of kept it to themselves?
I mean, I think people have been asking, like, these companies, like, what's the effect going to be? Here's a company that's just being transparent and saying, you know what? This is what it's doing to our business. And other people need to see it, maybe in hope that it'll change, right? I mean, I don't know if it is, but I think it's a good strategy by the company. I think it also gives them maybe a little bit more exposure, which might help them sell them. So... Is it a bad thing? No, not at all. What about you, Sam?
Well, and this may be an American thing. Maybe they do this in the UK or Europe or something, but Americans have a real tendency to kind of espouse an opinion about something and really not have a good fundamental understanding on all the components of that thing.
No.
Right? And so I don't know much about it. Like I said, and I work in an industry that has some inkling about this, right? But I always tell people, like, I don't do all that in that organization, right? I'm not an economist. I don't really know how this is, but I do like the fact that they're saying, hey, this is. I mean, I think American and just any consumer generally needs to know what this impact is, right? I think they need to know. Now, is it self-serving for the company? Clearly, it is. I mean, they're not just doing it just because we need to make sure the American people know what's going on because we feel that that's important. Yeah, right. I don't necessarily think it's so completely altruistic to do that. However, it is nice that they're putting it out there because this is something that they're going to all have to deal with. Any industry that's dealing with these tariffs or dealing with, and again, this goes to a larger discussion about, the United States has moved away from a manufacturing to a service economy and has been doing that for the better half of 50 plus years.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now you can't just uproot all that stuff. And then again, they're not going to necessarily root that in the United States. They're going to root that in some other country. And even if they did in the United States, do we really want that? I mean, we can't find, I don't know about you, but I mean, there are service industries right now. There are like truck drivers and people that are doing plow work for these, local like MoDOT, right? Or Missouri Department of Transportation. They were like 400 plow truck drivers short, right? and they couldn't even find jobs. I mean, and then you're going to sit here and going to do manufacturing. Well, how many kids who are 20 years old are going, man, I want to work in this factory making this widget all day?
Well, it's double-sided. It's a double-edged sword too, because why are they made in China? Cheap labor. They can get them cheaper, sell them here for a little more money, make a profit. You bring all that factory work to United States, you're going to be paying American workers a hell of a lot more than the Chinese workers. So price is going to go up no matter what.
Plus, you have environmental impact. You have there is no OSHA in China that I know of. So if somebody loses an arm or a finger, who cares? Just go get another guy, right? This is a way more complex situation, and it's nice that White just says, "Hey, just at a base tax, this is really you can get eyes on the impact financially of what this costs. This costs us this, and this is what we had to pay for this. So when you guys complain about a price increase or a price impact, realize that this is born of that. You know, if you're a Trump fan and you want the tariffs and you want all this stuff and you're pedal to the metal and bringing it in America, well, then realize that this is where you are. And this is
and price is going to go up no matter what, probably. But
of course. Yeah.
I was going to say, Joe, we'll let you answer. I just want to say there was an AI picture posted on X. I don't know if you guys saw it. It said, this is an AI picture of American workers making iPhones.
I've
and it was
seen
like
this.
the fat people with like
their
I
saw that.
sweating, and they're like trying to put
NVIDIA
I can't get the damn screw on this stupid thing. Give me some Chinese people know what they're doing. All right, it's a complicated situation, but I mean, again, for Wise to do it just because they're just doing it for love of the game and just trying to help out the world consumer. I'm not.
Well, I'm glad I did it just to show, hey, tariffs are going to affect somebody. Usually the consumer.
But right. So it's interesting. That's cool.
So Joe,
I don't know the ins and outs of all this stuff, but
he doesn't know. He's too far away.
There's always people that are going to get effed over. I'll worry about them.
I mean, I think for us, you know, we all love tech, and I think you are going to see price increases. You are going to see availability issues. There will be companies that just won't be able to pay the bill. Like, I'm surprised Wise can pay the bill. I mean, Wise is a big company, but they're not that big.
Right.
Like, it's
a lot of impact. Bottom dollar.
They're a lot bigger than we probably think, but in the scope of things, like they're no Apple, they're no Google, they're no But what's funny is the tariffs keep ship. Apple's going to be $3,000. Well, we're going to hold off on cell phones now. So it gets going back and forth. So I think
there's an article that came out this week saying they're going to have to pay $900 million.
There's different parts of it that's being. I guess. It's complicated. That's why tariffs are always complicated.
Stupid tariffs. Well, I mean, listen, the way that I look at tariffs being in Canada is that you guys are now paying Canadian prices. So welcome to the future. Everything is 18 times more expensive than it needs to be. But I was saying, like, just a couple of weeks ago, like, even stupid things, like I was jokingly saying that I went to buy mouthwash and the price was 4 times what I imagined it to be. And I was saying, fucking tariffs, it's all about tariffs, but I'm sure that's got nothing to do with it. But we are going to see an impact of this. These companies are going to have to pay these things if they want to be sold in the United States, right? Like, I know and for the unfortunate thing for people in the States is if they're getting charged these tariffs, things cost more, it costs you more. Yeah. Because they have to pass it on to the consumer at some point, right? They can't absorb this hit every single time.
No, wait, you said that we're Canadian prices. Is that because you guys now the 51st state?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
They got a new prime minister, though.
We do have a new prime minister, Mark Carney. So
I'm totally kidding about that.
Yeah, I did tell you a funny Canadian story. So I had a really busy week at work, and I had to go and vote on Thursday. And I would go to my local voting station, and it's just like a card with candidates' names and the party they're representing, like for locally, which then translates internationally. Anyway, long story short, I get in there, and I'm like, fuck, I can't remember what party belongs to which leader, and I'm trying to picture it in my head, right? I'm going, okay, so there's liberals and the conservative, and I'm trying to picture the ads. I'm trying to picture the colors in my head. So in the end, there's 4 names on this piece of paper. I know 2 of the parties are not in contention, so there was one or the other. I just fucking guessed. I guessed and checked the box.
Hey, that's your right.
You know what? And I got it right. And the right person won. But, just one of those things.
What party won in Canada? I don't even know.
I guess they're liberal.
The Liberals won. So the same.
And they're
party
saying
that,
a lot of these liberal parties in other countries are starting to win now because of Trump. Which whatever.
Well, Australia.
Australia too. Yeah,
that was the other one. Yeah, but Australians, you know about them.
Well, I mean, Australia is, well, there's that too, right? But I mean, they got we call it Liberal and Labor in Australia. Labor being the.
Oh, did you get to vote twice? Could you go to Australia?
I could, technically, if I flew there at the time that I had to be there, yeah. But anyway, in Australia, they call it the Labor Party, but they were just decimated, and the Liberals won again. So,
that's crazy.
It's all happening all around right now. So there's a very interesting point of view.
The U.S. is leading the conservative charge, all right?
That's right, yeah.
Who knows?
Well, anyway, on that note,
in the term of elections, doesn't matter who gets elected if you have elections,
exactly.
because you're never going to make everyone happy. We already know that. So what it is, I just hope for our sake that we don't have too many constitutional issues where someone can run for a third term and then they shouldn't. But hey, it is what it is.
Oh boy! Well,
listen, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, us Canadians kind of watch what's happening in the States, and I said this the first time said person was elected that I can't wait to watch the season finale of America. It did feel like that a lot.
Darren, but it depends who you talk to too. There's people that really
100%,
people, and they're going to say everything's going fine. But anyways, let's not get
Anyway, but externally, that's my opinion. You don't have to agree. Anyway, guys, that actually brings us to the end of today's show. Joe and Sam, you guys are rock stars, man. We love having you on. Every time you're on, you always kind of bring all the good conversation and all the good stuff that Jason and I just don't think about. And we appreciate you guys for that.
It's always an honor to come on. We love you guys.
We love it.
We're fans for sure. We are fans of the Tech Disruptors and everything.
I like the synergy here too. Like we're broadcasting live on 2 channels right now. So like the Nomad Tech Project, and
we're in different countries.
We're in different countries.
Well, Sam, we need to up our lighting and everything.
Real quick story though. Yesterday we were at the store. We were at getting breakfast, and I was sitting there listening to this lady talk, and she was talking about her daughter had just moved to the UK, and they were going to their first soccer game.
Oh yeah,
football. Right, I know. Well, wait. Give me another half a minute. I'll explain it. So I'm sitting there, and my wife's standing next to me, and she's like, "It's Tottenham." I was like, "It's Tottenham." Oh my god! And they're pretty good. I go, "Tottenham sucks." And she goes, "Yeah." And it's soccer. It's football. And I'm actually saying this out loud, and my wife's going, "Shut up! She's going to hear you." I go, "Fuck this lady, right?" And I was like, and then she's like, and they had to they go to the stadium. I was like, they're going to a match. It's a pitch. Fuck off. And I was like, and she looked at me, she goes, "Jesus Christ, you're starting to sound like them." I said, now I know why Joe was always on my ass. And Matt used to be like, dude, it's a pitch. It's a draw.
Watch Ted Lasso, for the love of God.
It's like they're gonna do all the chants. I was like, oh God, Tottenham sucks, and it's a pitch, and it's a match. It's not a game, you idiot. Shut up.
So it's not called soccer?
No, it's football.
Only in the.
I just was funny because every time she was saying something, I was just in my mind going, "Man, now I know why Joe's giving me so much shit." And I'm like, now I get it. And it's like, "Whoa, mate, wait till they get focal regulated." Yeah, it's like, no, it's just like,
look,
she's
Sam's a big hockey guy. Joe, you're obviously a football guy. I mean, you're football. I like all sports. I'm just obviously hope my Cavaliers can make it to the finals. But hey,
I'm hoping tonight. Let's go Blues. Fuck Winnipeg.
Maple Leafs. Let's go.
Yeah,
I hope Toronto got beat by the Guardians a few times here, Darren. What happened to that?
I'm just hoping. Shit. You know what would be making me happy? A Leafs Blues final.
Oh my God,
awesome. That would be fantastic. So hopefully they go up to Leafs. I need to win one.
Wait, Joe. What do they call hockey over there? I'm totally kidding.
Hockey. No one watches.
They call it hockey. So I was at the store the other day, and I had to mention it, Joe. I was going to mention it today in the chat because I was like just dialing on this lady, and she's like saying all this stuff. I'm like, "You stupid American brat." It's a match. It's a match.
Well, if you do want to know all about football, make sure you check out Joe and Sam on the Nomad Tech Project. Joe is quite the fan. He can give you all the latest news and and team standings and everything in between. But again, thanks, guys. You can catch the Nomad Tech Project. They're usually on right before we are on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So check them out. Then pop over to us, the Tech Disruptors, and take a look because we love you guys. You guys are our favorite people in the entire world, and we are hoping that we can capture some of your energy from your show as we move into ours. And that's always been the plan. So thank you very much, guys. We will be back next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a couple of special guests, maybe one special guest next week. But more on that to come. And if you don't already know, make sure you check out the Nomad Tech Project and Tech Disruptors. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We are also available Apple Music, Spotify, Good Pods,
YouTube Music.
everywhere. YouTube Music, everywhere you find good podcasts, you will find us. So on that note, thank you very much for listening, and we will